Have you ever wondered if your business idea is a good business idea? Are you uncertain about how quickly it will take off and if someone is actually going to pay you for it? Today's video is about diving deeper on these principles about, are you on the right track? How do you know when things are working out? Hello, my name is Sarah Mae Ives. Now, if you want to see how I got started with a highly successful Facebook advertising business in about 90 days, actually for me, I had my first client in about 6 weeks, I encourage you to click the link below to download my free guide on the 7 steps to get started. So, if you like what I'm talking about, if you're into this channel, please consider subscribing, sharing the video with friends or family who might also be interested. And don't forget to click the notifications bell so that when I'm back next week, you will see my new video. So let's dive into the topic of today, which is how do we know as an entrepreneur when we're on the right track? So first and foremost, the best way that you can tell if you're on the right track is if people are paying you, if people are interested in your services, and if the math works out. So when you're starting a business, you want to make sure that you can charge adequately. So I'll give you an example of this. My first business that I started back in 2010 was a raw food business. I was super passionate about it. I love helping people eat healthier. I love teaching. It was a really good business for those reasons. Now here's the drawback to that business. When I did the math on what could people pay me, you can really charge about $50 for a raw food class. And I could really get about 30 people into the class. And I could do that about once to twice per month. So when I actually did the math on what the business paid, I was severely capped for a few different reasons. But essentially, the business model that I chose was not a highly profitable model. And in fact, I hit a ceiling of how much money I could make because I only had so much time and people only paid me so much. So that was one way that I knew right off the bat that was going to be tough. Now, here's the thing. When I actually started the business, I say right off the bat, but it took me years to learn this very basic principle. Now, if you want to contrast that with my second business that I started, my advertising business, the way that you charge people is much different. In fact, in the advertising world, companies pay us a retainer or a set fee per month for our services. So in the ads world, clients pay you anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 per month. And this is like an expensive subscription. They continue to pay you month after month after month. So I knew when I started the ads business that it was way more profitable right off the bat. So you want to make sure that your business has the profit margins required for you to live the life that you really want to live. So what's an example of this? Yeah, so when it comes to selling stuff online, for example, say you're like, okay, I want to be a dropshipper, I want to sell stuff online. You have to figure out what your profit margins are. Profit margins are how much money you actually take home. Now, with a lot of businesses, the profit margins are not very good. The raw food business was an example of, I actually had like a negative profit margin because it actually cost me more money to run the business than I made back in return. It's not a good business. Now, when it comes to the profit margins of what I'm doing now, the profit margins are about 50%, meaning if someone pays me $2,000, I actually put $1,000 in my bank for every client that I have. Now, profit margins on a brick and mortar business are usually lower, meaning you make less money. So if you own a bakery, for example, a profit margin of 11% might be incredible. And that's more normal for brick and mortar businesses. The nice thing about an online business is your profit margins are higher. So as I mentioned, in my trade, it's about 50% profit margin. Now, that's a really important exercise to do with your business idea is map out, what do people pay me and how many hours does it take me to deliver that work and how many hours do I have in a week? And based on those math figures, if I were at my maximum capacity, what would be the maximum capacity that I'm able to deliver this business in this set amount of time? And that will give you a good idea of if your business is actually a profitable business idea. So I hope that that's helpful in helping you to determine if it's the right type of business to start. Now, another thing that's really important important to assess when it comes to, am I onto a good business idea, is what is the appetite for people? Because when I started my raw food business, yes, people were interested in it, but they weren't interested in paying me a lot. So this was a test that I did early on. I thought, well, people would come to a raw food class. People would come to one of my big raw food potlucks where we had like 60 people per month. But when I tried to ask them for more money, they weren't into it. And there's a few different reasons for that. But what I really want to drive home is that you want to identify, is this a company or a business idea, where I can charge a set fee? Is it going to be dictated by competitors in terms of pricing and what I can charge? Or is this something where I can really add value and charge more? So I think that's really an important consideration when you're figuring out, like, do people want it? And are they willing to pay you what your time is really worth? Because unfortunately, a lot of businesses, you can get clients, but they're not actually willing to pay you what you're worth. So that's another good test that you can do. Is when I started my advertising business, before I invested the thousands of dollars in learning how to do the ads and how to set up my company and how to get clients, I actually did a really informal exercise where I reached out to my contacts, and I said, is anyone interested in my Facebook ad services? And very quickly, a lot of people said yes. And they also said that they were willing to pay me proportionately. So I knew really quickly that this business had much better profit margins than the other business. So I would also say another way to know if you're onto the right business idea is, do you enjoy what you're doing? Is this something that really makes you excited? When I started the advertising business, I was really excited because I liked working with people. I like talking to people. Even though I'm an introvert and I've been shy for most of my life, I still really thrive and love working with people. And also I love being creative. So when I say I love being creative, I've always loved writing, and I've always just loved thinking about fun things. I remember as a kid thinking, gosh, I'd love to be a writer when I'm older, but I knew that being a writer did not pay that well. At that time, I had no idea what copywriting was, which is writing for businesses, which of course copywriting pays more than writing nonfiction or fiction because it's for business, and business owners can justify the expense. So another way to know if you're onto the right business is, are you really enjoying what you're doing? Because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, your business is not going to have longevity. Another thing that didn't work with my raw food business was there were lots of things that I liked about the business, but I also didn't like certain aspects. And one of the things that I really didn't like was the fact that I'm not a good recipe creator. I like following recipes, but when it comes to being a cook in the kitchen, I can cook and I can follow a recipe, but I'm not so creative when it comes to, testing and different flavors and all that. So it really wasn't something I loved doing. Another thing that I didn't like about the business was raw food classes are held on the weekend. And a lot of people that signed up for my health coaching could only meet with me after work, after work hours. So unfortunately, the business was really conducted in evenings and weekends, and me being a mom and really wanting to be more available and present for my children meant that this also wasn't a great fit for me, because I was really struggling to spend time with my son when I was supposed to be doing my business nights and weekends. So that's another way to know, is you want to ask yourself, number one, am I passionate about what I'm doing? And sometimes we only know that when we started. So please don't feel like you've got to have this all sorted out in advance. A lot of times we realize we have a passion when we actually start doing the work. And that's something that can still be done and tested without a ton of investment. A lot of times we think we have to follow our passions. That's a great idea, but you also want to make sure your passion is profitable. And likewise, when you're following a business idea, you want to also ask yourself, could I enjoy this? Because there's some less obvious business ideas that you're not sure if you would enjoy, but they're really worth a try. So that's something else that is important to consider in terms of, are you on the right business track? So really, I would say overall, you want to put a time limit on what you're putting into your business. So if after a year you still haven't gotten success, then you're probably not on the right track, and you probably need to refine or tweak your business idea. And of course, that's something I can help you with. If you want to comment below, I've also got free trainings that can help you get more clarity on what does make for a good business idea versus not. But really, how to know if you're on the right track is, are you enjoying it, and do you feel like you're getting momentum? And when people are talking to you about your business, are they willing to pay you what you're really worth? Those are the three most important considerations when you're really assessing, is this business taking off? I hope that this helps. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like I said, if you have any questions, comment, please put them below. I can't wait to see you next week. I will be back with another video. Have an awesome day.